Buying your first home, don't fall in those rookie traps that can cost you thousands. I've seen them all. Here are 5 mistakes I help my first-time clients avoid every day. Not getting approved before shopping. It's important to know your budget, to know your payments, to know what you're comfortable with. And also it's important to have a strategy session to really learn that your first home doesn't need to be your forever home. It's a stepping stone sometimes. A lot of my clients, and we just sat down actually yesterday with one of my first-time home buyer clients that I met at an open house, and we actually break down step by step, where do you want to be in 10 years? Which is an important question to ask everybody. Where do you think you want to be in 10 years? And then you can break it down and how to get there. In 10 years, I want a beachfront on the west side with a light, whatever it's called, lighthouse view. Maybe you want that. Or in 10 years, I want to be on top of the hill and have privacy and animals. But now, all you can afford might be a $700,000 house. And maybe we can find a $500,000 house that you can make it an $800,000 house in 3 years and improve it. So it's important to really get clear on your goals and where you are today. Of course, they can change. A lot of my clients, sometimes we meet after a couple of years and we brainstorm about their property. How can we add value? How can we maximize their equity? And we really go really deep into your investment and maximize your tax write-off into a property. It's extremely important, but get clear on your goal. That's the first step, and get pre-approved to figure out where you are in your finances. Falling in love with a home outside your budget. I actually recently had a client that they came to me with the buyer consultation. Another agent was showing them homes, or I call them opening doors. We sat down and we narrowed down their budget, and that house that they were in love with was $200,000 above their budget. It's important to sit down and figure it out how to get to your dream home. There is a way, there is always a way. We can dig deep into it. Basically, I had a client recently, actually a year ago. He impressed me so much. A young entrepreneur. We met a year ago. He was approved for $300,000. And I told him, Paisano, don't give up. Let's figure out how to get where you want to go. And we just closed 4 months ago on a $1 million property. Guess what he did? We back engineered how to get where he wanted to go. And then he got there little by little, moving the needle. And, you don't build things overnight, and Rome wasn't built overnight. It took him years to build those huge Colosseum, the street, the sewage, and such. So you gotta set up long-term goal and break it down into shorter term with putting some motivation into it, and understand what's your why, when do you want to retire, and what's going on with you. Waiving contingencies without understanding the risk. Actually, we call them also safeguard or protection in the contract. What are contingencies? First of all, contingencies are protecting your deposit. Whenever you get your offer accepted, you have to put a deposit in escrow. In escrow, it's a natural third party that keeps the integrity of the transactions. You need to understand what those risks are. And sometimes it's very competitive, so you need to take some risks. And I've taken this for myself, and I didn't sleep a couple of nights. So I don't want you to do the same thing, and I want you to understand what you're getting into it. For example, I had a client recently, actually yesterday. We had an appraisal contingency, and the appraisal came $100,000 below what we were in contract for. Guess what we did? I put my gloves on, Rocky Balboa style, and we went fighting, and we just knocked down $100,000 over the asking price on this property once we were in escrow. So whatever you initially offered, it doesn't matter. It can still be renegotiated depending on the contingencies and strategies and inventory. That's why you need a realtor with hands-on, ready to fight for you, like Rocky Balboa, and it stands back up and he's ready for more. And that's why I'll be there for you, to fight like Rocky. Ciao. No factoring closing costs and ongoing maintenance. Let's talk about that. What are closing costs, first of all? The lender might have some fee, appraisal, insurance, setting up the utilities. It's important to know that that's not necessarily a closing cost of a transaction, but I like to bring that up for every time, first time on buyer. And insurance. And it's important to go through those on our buyer strategy session. You also need to know that the buyer pays for his own inspections in the investigation contingency period. And depending on the property, can be $300 to $314 $100,000 if you're doing mold, pest. There is so many different inspections, and it's important to review what the seller has done, do our own, and be ready to understand every risk that we have into this transaction. And me being an investor and a homeowner, I can guide you through those because I've done a lot of those mistakes and I don't want you to do the same ones, okay? No factoring ongoing maintenance. Let's talk about this other huge topic that a lot of times realtors might not talk about. We gotta cut the trees if it's in the forest. We gotta paint the house more times if it's close to the beach and you get a breeze. We gotta take care of the septic maintenance, and we gotta blow off those leaves. We gotta clean those gutters before it rains to make sure the water management is done right. I like to go through all of those scenarios with my buyers. Say, hey, look, we spent some time on the property. We even meet some of the neighbors. I make sure my buyers meet the neighbors because the neighbors also have similar property most likely, so they can guide my buyers on how to make best decisions and be prepared. Depending, of course, on the property and the scenario, I'll be more than happy to give you a consultation. And of course, there is no charge. A lot of realtors might have a retainer fee. We don't charge those. We get paid whenever the transaction closes, and I give you the keys of the house and we pop the champagne and it's party time. Relying solely on Zillow without an agent. Zillow doesn't know if the property has a steep hill and you need a geologist to look at the tree. Zillow doesn't know the road, if it's paved or if it's a dirt road. Zillow doesn't know how much sun you get. It's just an algorithm. It's important to know an agent that can guide you with the neighborhood, the streets, the schools, and the septic regulations, the trees, and there's so many things that Zillow doesn't know. Call me. I'm happy to give you those answers. I've had a lot of buyers. Recently, actually, I had a buyer who was trying to buy a property on his own. I recommend you give it a try, but there is a lot of factors that you can try to save 3% and you might save 10% and you might get a huge headache. It's like going to the dentist. You can try to pull your own self the teeth, but you need a dentist. And I can be the dentist in this case to make sure everything goes smooth like butter on bread. Ciao. How we guide clients step by step to not make the process overwhelming. I mean, you can see some video testimonials and testimonials on our Google review, by the way, or Zillow, or videos on Instagram. Some of my amazing clients were kind enough to do that. And you can call them too. I can give you their phone number, right, by the way. It's important to have the first consultation. We just met with a buyer that was working with the realtors from 3 years, and they were so overwhelmed. They walked into the office, you can feel the stress. They sat down and they actually had an espresso and a 2-hour consultation with us, and they were a lot more relaxed because they knew what's coming, they knew what their costs were, they knew where to look, and they knew what we could do for them. With that said, we do this brainstorming strategy session first, and then of course we hold your hand step by step. Of course we make sure we're answering the phone whenever you need us. And of course we explain everything multiple times because sometimes that happens. Sometimes I need Hunter, my amazing videographer, to explain me things multiple times that I need to be calm and I need to be prepared. We need to have the right lighting for the video, so I listen to him. We need to listen to each other, take notes, brainstorm, and figure out what's the best plan of action and reach your real estate goals. If you're even thinking about buying, let's talk early, no pressure, just strategy. I'll help you buy smart, no stress. Have a wonderful day, non-negotiable.